Welcome to Marketing with Purpose. My name is Monica Pitts. I'm the owner of May Create Design and the tech lady who solves communication challenges through technology. Now, the current communication, well, maybe even technology challenge that I've been tasked with solving is how to make end-of-year giving campaigns more successful for your small nonprofit. That's what my nonprofit community asked me to answer. And when I started brainstorming about it, I thought, you know what? I think that I need to get the opinion of a fundraising expert. And so I dialed up my friend, Jaime Freidrichs. Now, Jaime is the facilitator of newfundraisingpros.com, which is an online community for fundraisers. And she's also a fundraising coach, not to mention that she's been doing it for her entire career. So she's pretty much got the skinny on how to make this work. And she came to me with 6 awesome suggestions. They were so awesome that I had to write them down. So I'm going to quickly go through the 6 so that way you know what we're going to get into with this discussion. Number 1 is get clear on your why. Number 2, a November appreciation push. Number 3, hone in on Giving Tuesday. And she's going to explain to us some strategies that might work. Number 4, make it super easy for your peer-to-peer participants. Number 5, re-energize mid-campaign. And number 6, incorporate the phone. So you may not use all of these suggestions, but you will definitely get a ton out of listening to Miss Jaime. So enough of me talking about it. Let's get over to the conversation. You're on a mission, and you just need more people to know about it. And whether you're brand new to marketing or a seasoned pro, we are all looking for answers to make marketing decisions with purpose. I'm Monica Pitts, a techie, crafty business owner, mom, and aerial dancer who solves communication challenges through technology. This podcast is all about digging in and going digital. I'll share my marketing know-how and business experience from almost 20 years of misadventures. I'll be your backup dancer so you can stop doubting and get moving towards marketing with purpose. I just have one public service announcement to make before we get to the good stuff today. And you might not like it when I say this, but you know that the secret to a successful year-end giving campaign is to start planning right now. Don't give up and let 2020 get the best of you. The biggest giving month is yet to come. You know that 26% of all the donations placed in 2019 on classy.org happened between Giving Tuesday and December 31st. So don't let those supercharged 31 days go to waste. Download my year-end campaign planning checklist at maycreate.com/checklist. It outlines your monthly must-do activities from September to January with simple, straightforward tasks to guide your planning activities and discussions to get you rolling towards a successful year-end giving campaign. Check it out at maycreate.com/checklist. And with that out of the way, I can't wait to introduce you to my guest. I'm Monica Pitts, and with me today I have Jaime Freidrichs, and many of you know Jaime. I mean, she's been part of the Columbia community for a long time, and now she's not working with not just one nonprofit, but many nonprofits, helping them polish up their fundraising. And I brought Jaime in today to help answer the question that so many of you have posed to me, which is, how do I run a campaign, a fundraising campaign for my small, as Jaime would say, but mighty nonprofit? Because we know that you're short on time and resources. So how do we do this? And Jaime is going to tell me 6 things. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, right?
Okay. I'll keep it really quick so we can get to the good stuff. So I've been a fundraiser for 17 years and worked with some great local nonprofits professionally. And a little over 2 years ago, went out on my own as a fundraising coach because I felt very called to help what I like to think of as our small but mighty nonprofits who may not have a full-time fundraiser on their staff. So the executive director and the board and a lot of people are balancing fundraising with other things, or who have no staff at all, or who have a newer fundraiser filling that role that doesn't have all the infrastructure behind them, and helping these groups make the most of their fundraising efforts, do the highest return things, treat their donors really well, and understand sort of the professional side of fundraising so that they can do better and raise lots more money. This summer, because I really wanted to be able to give more hands-on feedback to more nonprofits, especially during the really difficult time with the pandemic when we're all having to do everything so differently. And it's just the art of adaptation constantly. I created a group called New Fundraising Pros online. It's completely free and open to anyone who wants to learn more about fundraising and grow their fundraising efforts. It's just a trusted, safe place where you can get feedback or post questions. I'll read and answer every post, and sort of a low pressure way to get free advice.
Like a resource,
yeah.
or something.
Yeah, it's like a window into the fundraiser's soul. But I think, this is a digression, so you can cut this out if you need to, but I think fundraising can be really lonely, whether you're the fundraising professional or the executive director or the volunteer who's in charge of it. It's one of those things that not everyone understands what you're going through, and you can feel just sort of out on a limb by yourself. And I think it's really helpful to be able to connect with other people who are doing it too, and just kick things around and commiserate and give each other encouragement and just get more confidence. A lot of fundraising is being confident in your mission and what you're asking for. And so I hope that what the group is doing for people is making them feel more confident about their fundraising efforts. And I think that'll make them better.
So. Okay, so Jaime, why don't you kick us off? Tell us number 1 of your 6 things.
Okay, yeah. 6 is a very random number. So I think the question you asked me is, what kind of advice do you have for smaller nonprofits as they're getting ready for Como Gives and doing their Como Gives campaign? And the first thing is something you can do right away, which is get really clear on why you need money, why you're raising money, what it's for. What it's for from both a tangible perspective, what are the things you spend money on, and what it's for from an impact perspective, what is the good that you're doing? And I think a lot of times in nonprofits, we're in the day-to-day flow, and it becomes like so obvious to us why we exist that we lose the ability to articulate it really well. And then you get into fundraising mode, and it becomes really hard to describe to your prospective donor or your volunteers or whoever why you're so worthy of support. Like, oh, we do good things, help kids, and that's great. But we want to also say very clearly, well, donations are used in this way, and as a result, these things happen. And this is a really good way to get your board of directors or other key volunteers who are going to be part of that peer-to-peer effort down the road involved. Just kind of gathering together as like a focus group or a discussion. Either you could do it at a board meeting or do an extra special Zoom with breakout rooms or something to really define for yourselves and get clear in your own mind why you are so worthy of support, what the money does for you, what donor dollars do for you and through you for our community. And when you're able to have something like that up there, you can pin it on your wall. And I think in addition to getting ready for your really good fundraising materials, it's also inspiring to you. It kind of re-engages your excitement and like, yeah, we have to raise money because boy, we are doing great, amazing things. And these kids or puppies or people or cause or issue or community or whatever, they need us. We're changing the world. And so the first thing I think to get ready for Como Gives is just to get excited and get clear again about why donations. It's not just because you're a 501c3 and you're allowed to get donations. It's beyond that. And so what's the beyond that of what, and not just what you do broadly, but what these specific, we're all setting our Como Gives goals, whether it's $5,000 or $10,000 or $30,000. So what is that specific money going to allow you to do that is so great that you want to share with people?
Do you think it needs to be tied to a specific purpose? Or because I do feel like sometimes they'll do, okay, we're going to do a capital campaign for this building, Or, for example, I was talking through somebody is doing like a t-shirt fundraiser basically. And I was like, well, I mean, if you're going to sell t-shirts, it would probably be a lot easier to be like, hey, every t-shirt that we sell equals 4 extra hours of tutoring for a local child. And then you're basically saying, hey, you can buy a t-shirt and give 4 hours of tutoring to this kid, and that makes them feel like they're involved. Does it have to be that specific, or can it be like broader? What works better from a campaign perspective, do you find?
Yeah, I love it when it's that specific. I love the tutoring example. And I think almost any cause can do something like this, where you do sort of a quick calculation of whatever your unit of service is, divided by, so how many people you serve for how many hours divided by your overall budget. And that's kind of, what it takes to do the thing you do. So I think if you can get that sort of number to be able to share with people, that is great and really helpful. And actually, there has been a little bit of data that shows that a non-round number, so if it comes out to be like $37 or something, like, something that's not just like $10 or $100 that everybody, kind of gravitates toward, but those like kind of funny numbers can be a little more attention grabbing, and people like trust that they are the actual unit of service. And so if you can find some sort of calculation, I think that is great. But if that's not, if that isn't exactly how your mission works, or not something you feel comfortable doing, I do think having a purpose helps. It doesn't have to be something special, additional that you wouldn't already be doing, though. And so just carving out a piece of what you do to use as an example for whatever your Como Gives goal is going to do. And so you don't want to necessarily imply every dollar that we raise through Como Gives goes to this specific purpose, but to say, what $10,000 means to us is, it's actually this specific aspect of our organization that is really important for these reasons, and we couldn't do everything that we do without this specific thing.
That's one thing that Stacy and I actually, we talk about it often, because she's on the board of many different nonprofits. Stacy works with me over at May Create, and she'll be like, well, Monica, they need to be able to choose where their money goes. And I'm like, I don't want them to choose where their money goes. I want to choose where their money goes, because if hiring Jaime is where that money needs to go to make my mission grow, then that's what I want to use it towards. But if I say, here, you can put it in this fund, and this fund is only for this purpose, then I lose that flexibility. It's my business ownership. It's breaking me, right? So I like how you said that, don't necessarily pigeonhole yourself, but use it as an example. So this t-shirt can mean 4 hours of, instead of saying this t-shirt is 4 hours of.
This wasn't one of my 6 things, but this is more like in your marketing world. But it also, I think, is really helpful for Como Gives to know, are most of your campaign donations going to come from people who already know and love your organization? Or is Como Gives going to be really a strategy to introduce your organization to new people, to make a first-time gift? And that's very different. And so if what you need to be successful at Como Gives is a lot of first-time donors, the more specific you are, the easier that's going to be. But the idea is, the magic of fundraising is that it should be an ongoing relationship. And so at some point down the road, when they're making their second, third, fourth, fifth gift, they are no longer worried about what specific thing you're going to spend it on, because they've gotten to know you and trust you and see your impact firsthand. But when it's their first experience with you, I do think something a little more tangible and specific makes it easier for someone who doesn't know you to say yes.
Okay, awesome. And I bet too that when you get that specific, it's easier for other people to help you in your campaign as well.
Yeah, and that's why I suggest in actually involving your board of directors or the people who are going to be your peer-to-peer ambassadors at this stage, because if they are a part of creating that language in fundraising, we call it a case for support, but really we just can say it's the it's the what you do at your organization that's so wonderful. And so if they are a part of actually sort of identifying that, it's easier for them to remember. It feels more natural for them to talk about. So I think don't be afraid to involve them at that point. And it's easier, you're talking about the loneliness factor earlier. And so I think it's a lot easier to come up with the why it's so important to give a donation with a few other people rather than, sitting in your office by yourself trying to remember, why it was you came to work today.
I am definitely a person that has to think out loud a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that I have a team that allows me to bounce ideas off of them, because I'll think I know, and then I start talking about it and I'm like, I don't really know, because I can't even answer the questions you're asking. So what's number 2, Jamie? What's the second thing that we're going to do?
So the second thing to get ready is to do a big appreciation push in November. So I hope, in my experience, I give to a lot of organizations during Como Gives because I love it. It's like online shopping. You just you put them all in your shopping cart and you give them all a gift. And so I love it. It's all the best of things that I like. Mm-hmm. So I can say firsthand, from a donor perspective, I think our organizations do a great job sending a thank you when the donation is made, doing some follow-up thank yous, some handwritten notes, thank you calls. Mm-hmm. They're doing that so well in, December and also potentially following up in January. I've seen good examples of that, and then this spring. But this is a great time to remind donors how much we appreciated their support last year and what a difference it made. And so a no ask, pure appreciation, thank you update sometime in November before people are thinking about Como Gives really helps to prime your donors for your ask. And, don't they deserve it? Don't they deserve to be thanked again just one more time because their money is making it happen. Yeah. And so all the great things that you did over this past year, hopefully last year's Como Gives, if you participated, was a part of getting that launched and pushed forward. So let's share that great, happy message.
I think too. So one thing that I noticed is we did a donor survey, and I really feel like, so we did the donor survey, in June. So that's 6 months after the campaign ends. And people didn't remember being thanked. And that's tough because I totally know that people thanked me. I know that they did. I don't know if everyone thanked me, but I had enough thanks that I was like, oh, well, everybody thanked me, right? But I do think that they forget, but in that period of time, those 12 months. And the other thing to consider as well is the very best social media posts that I ever see. Like the ones with the most engagement and interactions are the ones where you're thanking your donors and you have pictures of people and you talk about how amazing, your donors are because of the things that you could achieve because of them. They're like the best liked, commented, shared posts out there. So it's kind of like yes, you're rewarding them, but you're also like rewarding yourself from a marketing standpoint, knowing that you're going to publish something that people are actually going to interact with. So, and that always feels good too. Have a virtual friend. Anyway, so I love that idea. Okay, I'm done talking now. What about number 3? I want to know number 3.
So number 3, I just sort of realized as I was looking at this, 2020, there have been very few bright spots in 2020. I mean, like Chiefs won the Super Bowl, maybe we all had some personal wins. Other than that, we can all agree 2020 is the worst. One great thing about 2020, Como Gives in Giving Tuesday, December 1st.
I know. Well, we started doing the campaign. We started it on Giving Tuesday the last 2 years. And Giving Tuesday was like inside of the campaign last year. And it
was December 3rd. Yeah.
And it was out, like we had to extend the campaign the year before, which when I was doing all my metrics, I was like, oh, there's 4 extra days. This is so hard. But you know what? 4 extra days really didn't earn us any more money. I mean, it was just that we had some really, really slow days is what happened because we extended it even longer. But anyway, so yeah, it is exciting. So capitalize on Giving Tuesday, you're saying.
Yeah, so really use that Giving Tuesday ramp up and launch to start the campaign super strong. And so again, a lot of this is going to be work that you do long before December, but I do think that Giving Tuesday has enough name recognition these days that it is something that you can really leverage as your Como Gives launch date and build some excitement around, especially with your peer-to-peer. And so a couple things that I think can really help make a big Giving Tuesday, getting a corporate match challenge, especially from a business that aligns really nicely with your organization. I missed what you said there.
I'm taking notes. I'm like Giving Tuesday corporate match challenge.
Yes. So it could be someone from your board, or it could be someone from the community. Gosh, we're so lucky here in Columbia. There are so many really, really generous, both corporate type sponsors and small business sponsors. And a challenge match doesn't have to be huge, especially in the context of Como Gives, depending on what your total goal is. Even if your goal is in the higher range of, $15,000 or something, you could still do a day one, like $1,500 corporate challenge match. If you're able to capitalize on it the way it should work, which I hope you would, you still end up day one, December 1st, Giving Tuesday, with $3,000, which is 20% of your very, lofty $15,000 goal. And so it doesn't take a lot of money on the part of the corporate sponsor to be able to launch into more gifts. And it's a great way to recognize your corporate donors and get them some really good attention. And frankly, all of our businesses really could use that extra attention this year. And build excitement, because people love to give when their dollar is going to be matched by someone else. I would recommend, even if you're doing this, to go ahead and prepare your board members or some other folks to be kind of primed and ready to make their gift during the match. Maybe not all of them, but at least some, so that you really are taking advantage of building some momentum. And then if you have some donors that, not everybody loves giving online, and I know this is kind of out beyond Como Gives, but Giving Tuesday doesn't have to be just an online day of giving. And this is an opportunity to go ahead and engage donors who don't like giving online as well, to be a part of Giving Tuesday, even if they can't be a part of Como Gives, just to kind of widen the circle. Although I do think more and more people are comfortable with giving online every year. So.
Well, and you can always, you can call them and you can take their information and put it in, like you can do it for them. We do that sometimes when people are having trouble, gotta love the user error, and just really talk them right on through it, and you just do it for them, and that it works fine. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's certainly a possibility. And we do have people that say, even after the month-long giving campaign is over, they still get checks in the mail.
Yeah, absolutely. That actually leads in, that's such a good idea. I love the idea of allowing your donors to call in their gift instead. And that actually ties into what my number 6 thing was, but I'm just going to tell you now that it is incorporate the phone. We've had a lot of conversations about the magic of multi-channel, and that, the more so by channel, it means like the more avenues of communication, right? And so you're already going to likely be using email marketing, right? You're going to tell them how to put together a great email campaign for Como Gives. They're already going to be doing some great social stuff. But what are the more channels you add into your Como Gives effort, I think the more effective you're going to be. And I love the phone for fundraising. And
because it works.
Because it works. Yeah. And I'm not talking about like a phone-a-thon, like cold call people and ask for a gift necessarily. But there's a lot you can do. I do think a lot of our organizations are doing a great job with thank you calls. But just setting up some phone calls with people, you don't have to get straight into the ask, but just kind of using it as kind of an information sharing. And then if they seem interested, let them know that you're in the Como Gives campaign. Here's what you're raising money for. Are they interested in being a part of it? And would it be easiest for them to make their gift over the phone? I mean, that's kind of just making their life easier rather than they have to follow a link and do all that. So it depends on the relationship with the donor. But I do think there are probably some donors who are, less likely to like get on the little internet box and punch in all the numbers, that may really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of your campaign and are deserving of that personal touch.
And I feel like if you have people that donated to you last year and they haven't yet donated to you this year, come the last few days of the campaign, you have all their contact information. I don't know why you would not reach out to them. I mean, like I have a few different organizations that I donate to every year, and they'll send me a letter. I'll lose it someplace in between my house and the office. And then when they call to follow up, that's when I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to give you that gift.
Yeah.
I just totally forgot about it. Right.
And you don't have to do it in an arm twisty way. You can, it should be honest concern, right? Mm-hmm. Why would someone who gave to you last year not give this year? Is there something wrong? Did you offend them in some way? And so, especially if they made, a gift of some significance to your organization, but either way, just checking in and saying, hey, I noticed that you gave to our Como Gives last year. We really appreciated it. And I hope that we made you feel appreciated for that gift. I noticed you haven't given this year. Is everything okay?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the worst that can happen is they say no.
Yeah, they say.
And you're like, great, because I got another person to call next. Right. And I got a whole bowl of ice cream next to me. Actually, so one of my tricks, so I started my company in 2005. And so I ran it through the recession, right? And so in 2008, I had to move back into my house, and I had lost my biggest client who made up like over half of my revenue. And so I had to make cold calls to make a living and pay myself and my staff. I would put on a costume. Yes. And I stood in front of the mirror in my bathroom, and I would make these cold calls. And I would be sitting there having very serious conversations with people dressed up like Raggedy Ann. Right? And it was just so funny to me because I'm like, they don't know what I'm doing. So I would do like these weird things that would help me not be tripped out about it, So I guess if you're making your phone calls and you're having a little bit of call reluctance, wear a costume.
That works. Good advice. I mean, odds are their email address changed or their address changed, they're not getting your materials, or they lost it, or they forgot, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or even if they weren't intending to give, just the fact that you care enough about them to call them, and that their gift is important enough to your organization that it got a personal call. I mean, that says a lot to someone.
Yeah. Even if their gift was $10 or $20, it's still important.
Yeah,
definitely. I think we're on number, I don't even know.
Well,
I was really
it's sort
impressed
of
with your math earlier, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just like 30 or 20% of your, I was like, how'd she do that in her head? I needed a spreadsheet for that. Anyways, what number?
We're sort of on 4, sort of on 5. But it's, I think it's one, well, that I know we've talked about before, about making it easy for your board and your supporters to do the peer-to-peer portion. I think that adding the peer-to-peer is one of the best things that you and John and all the people that make the Como Gives magic did. It's such a good idea. There's so much potential in it. But it doesn't just work by itself. Like most things, the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. So providing really good support to your volunteers and people who will do the peer-to-peer for you to make it as easy as possible for them, and being really clear on what you want them to do in terms of both like a step-by-step and providing some resources, and just a when this needs to happen and a why. And being able to tell them that peer-to-peer is probably the best opportunity in Como Gives. A lot of people participate in Como Gives, looking for new donors because it gets their name out there in the wonderful giving guide and on the website as people are scrolling through. So it is some natural awareness from that. But what's going to actually get people to take action and become a new donor is often going to be when someone that they already trust says, this is an organization doing great things. Yeah. And so this peer-to-peer is your best opportunity to get the new donors. And so you want to do everything in your power to make it really easy for especially your board members, but even other wonderful volunteer supporters. And the other thing you can do to help them is offer to brainstorm their prospects with them. So do like a 10-minute phone call with each of your board members or people who sign up for peer-to-peer, or at least offer, if you're going to sign up for peer-to-peer, that you'll sit with them on the phone or in a physically distanced way to just think about, okay, who of my friends and acquaintances and family and colleagues are the best people for me to send this to, and make that list. Because I think my experience with volunteers and especially board members, they have such wonderful intentions, but then you sit down to actually make the fundraising calls on behalf of the organization that you love and that you care about, and your mind just goes blank of like, who in my Rolodex or whatever in my Google contacts should I be sending this to? And so just the ability to have a talk about that and make that list. And then all they have to do at that point is go do it, because you've given them the script. They know why it matters, and they know exactly who they're sending it to. It's really easy for them to take 5 minutes and do it.
I agree. And I also, so do you think, so they definitely have their script, giving them, I think even like a timeline even for promotion would be nice. Like, hey, here's some different ideas and some days that you might do it on that would coincide with what we're doing. Yeah. I did find, we did a survey of our peer-to-peer participants, and I had a hard time getting them to respond to me. So I'm sort of stalking them right now. But of the people that responded, they were the people who earned, like, I would say at least $200, if not more, in their fundraisers. And a lot of them said that they wanted to have more support from the nonprofit. So that's something to keep in mind, is that they do want your help to do this. But then the other cool thing is that they also said that they didn't spend very long on them. And these are people that were raising between $200,000 and $5,000 for their organizations. And they said they spent a few minutes a day, like max. And I'm like, okay, well, that's awesome. That should absolutely be something that you tell other people that you're trying to get to do peer-to-peers, because who knew that it was, like $5,000, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's pretty kind of a big deal.
Yeah. And the other advice of peer-to-peer that I think we talked about during the bootcamp Q&A, but help your peer fundraisers engage with their own story of why they love your mission. And so whether it's providing them prompts or making it the first minute of your 10-minute phone call, or whatever it is, what attracted them to become a supporter of your organization, and then to be willing to ask for money on your behalf, because it's probably going to be a really lovely, inspiring story that is something that touches deep in their hearts. And one, like, don't you want to know that about this, this person who cares about your cause so much? And then two, that can become part of their ask. And when they say, I love this cause because, that's so much more interesting to their friends and family who are considering a gift than this cause is great because, making it really personal.
Agreed. And one thing that I did just think of was with, so you don't just have to do peer-to-peers through the Como Gives interface. You can do them like really anywhere. You can ask people to do them on Facebook. But one of the very nice things about doing them on Como Gives is that you get all the donor information. So you are meeting new people that you would not have met before, and you have their names and their phone numbers, and you know who brought in those donations, which is a lot different than, like, say, Facebook. You don't get anything.
Yeah.
You get money, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but you still didn't make new friends, which is a lot of what we want,
Absolutely.
So if you're thinking about doing it outside of Como Gives, definitely think about, like Jamie said, with the goal of your fundraiser. Like, if you're trying to do peer-to-peers to meet new people and get more volunteers and donors, then make sure that you do it through a platform that actually lets you get their information, because otherwise you just got money, which is a different goal. Not a bad one, just a different one.
Yeah. People's first gift to your organization is almost never their largest gift to your organization. So if you can re-engage them and develop that relationship further on down the road and over time, it's going to pay so much more than the lovely gift that they give you during Como Gifts.
Okay, so I think this is our last tip.
This is the last one. Yeah.
And we did 6 earlier.
Yeah. And so the last thing I thought of, if you're a smaller organization, is to think about ways to re-energize the campaign throughout the month. 31 days is a really long time to sustain a fundraising effort. And so you have, this great kickoff to build some momentum right off the top on December 1st. And you're probably going to do you want to plan a really good, like, between Christmas and New Year's. So December 27th through the end of the year, because a lot of people will give on the 30th, 31st.
Yes.
So those are some very specific times around, but there's a lot of days in between those times. And so having a few other things, whether it's some short, we all have, I think, a lot of people have much better like webcams and video equipment and stuff like that, and a greater comfort level. So whether it is recording, having people record some testimonials, some why I give testimonials, I give to this organization because, and they share their story, and that stuff you can share out. Whether it's some testimonials from people who benefited from your organization, maybe you find a way, through a Zoom or Ring Central or whatever recording, to bring those people together, and someone says why they give and someone says how they were helped, and it's all connected, and that's something that you share out. And then doing some, highlighting some of your donors, giving some shout outs, especially to business and corporate donors. So some additional recognition of your Giving Tuesday matcher, because you don't want to just forget about them after they've matched all those day one gifts. So you don't want to just forget them. You might do some additional recognition for them, but maybe you have another match midway through that again gives people a reason to give on December 15th versus waiting until the end of the month. And so just thinking about how you're going to pace yourself for the whole 31 days, and how you might want to see, okay, a high start and a high finish, and then how do you want it to kind of ebb and flow in the middle? Or is it going to be enough to have, that great Giving Tuesday launch and then your last few days and let the rest run on autopilot? As long as you have a really good plan for those last few days, those are really powerful days.
They are. They bring in the most part of the campaign. I have the number right over here. Last year, they brought in 32.71% of the total donations at $312,684.64.
Yeah.
That does not include the matching funds
Right.
or anything like that, or the rollover IRAs or anything. So 32.7% is in the final 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. And really the last day is almost always around, wait, I had that also right here because I'm crazy. Or is it last day of 2019 was 19.2% of the total campaign donation.
Wow.
Yeah, usually it's around 17%. And so last year, that 19.2, I was like, boom. But yeah. So it's a big deal, dude. That's why we need to I love your idea. If you're a small organization and all you can do is hit it hard on Giving Tuesday and then wrap it up strong, do it. Like, it's okay. You can have the rest of the month to like coast through and, get the occasional extra donation. Okay. So I feel like we should just recap these 6 things like really quickly,
Sure.
like bullet points. So that way people hear them just one more time.
And it can be your to-do list.
Yeah. I'm going to write them all down while you say
it. So number 1 is to get with your board and volunteers and get really clear on why you need this specific Como Gives money this year, whatever you set your goal at, what it's going to do for your organization, both tangibly and in terms of impact. And talk about that and get really excited about that goal and what it's going to mean for you. 2, I'm gonna have to cheat. 2 was your November appreciation push. And so work on this now and have it ready to go, around the 1st of November before it gets lost in by the week before Thanksgiving, people are already getting their direct mail. So to get it out like in the first week or 2 of November, that is a pure thank you for giving to Como Gives last year. We raised this much money because of you, and you made these things happen throughout this year because you were so generous at last year's Como Gives. And that's it. Don't talk about this year's Como Gives. It's just a thank you. Mm-hmm. And that can be something you send them. It can be another thank you call. It can be emails, whatever feels right to you. 3 is to get ready for Giving Tuesday and set it up to just be an amazing launch for the campaign. Look for a corporate matching challenge. Pre-prepare your peer-to-peer folks and your board members, but then also think about how you can go beyond just the online and involve people in other ways. 4 was maybe should have been 3 because you probably need to do this before the Giving Tuesday push is, make it really easy for people to support you with the peer-to-peer. So help them identify their why, help them identify their prospects, and then give them really clear instructions and scripts and that sort of thing to do those peer-to-peer campaigns. And then as you're doing all that, think about how your campaign will flow throughout the month. That's number 5, the thinking about, is it going to be just a big Giving Tuesday and a big last 4 days, or are there some other things that you want to do in the middle to keep the energy up? And then number 6 during the campaign, incorporate the phone, and both for thank you calls, but also checking in with people who maybe gave last Giving Tuesday and haven't given yet this year. So you know that their pattern is to give toward the beginning of the campaign and you haven't heard from them yet. And why? Is everything okay?
This is awesome. I have them all written down. Really nice here. Hopefully everybody else is taking notes too. Well, thank you very much, Jaime. I really appreciate it. I got some good ideas. I love it. Why don't you tell people how to contact you in case they have questions or like want to hang out on, your group.
So join the group. It's totally free and no obligations or anything. And that you can join at www.newfundraisingpros.com. Or feel free to send me an email or find me on Facebook. You can email me, Jaime, Jaime, at maximizingnonprofits.com. That's the website that I've used for my fundraising coaching. But yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help, and I'll talk about fundraising with just about anyone, but especially with you.
Yeah, you're like, I just don't want to be on the island by myself right now.
Oh yeah.
The fundraising.
It's weird. It's weird times.
It is. So I know, as awesome as all of these free resources and group learning can be, that sometimes you need just a little bit more attention and one-on-one planning help to sit down and figure out just where to start your year-end campaign. I'm offering a limited number of half-price one-on-one consulting sessions. Schedule between September 28th and October 9th, and your one-on-one 1-hour consulting session will be half off. So that's usually $90 and it's marked down to $45. So to sign up for your session, go to consulting.maycreate.com to reserve your spot today. Now, if you are ready to start planning for 2021, join us for the beta session of our nonprofit marketing management fundamentals course as I guide a small group of nonprofits through our signature marketing planning program later this fall. Now, for the beta release, all sessions will be presented live with Q&A sessions afterwards for real feedback. I want to know what you need from me, and I want to answer your questions live in this beta release. So together we'll plan your marketing so you can get back to doing what matters most, growing your mission and making an impact on your community. Join the waitlist now at youmaycreate.com/fundamentals. Once again, that's youmaycreate.com/fundamentals. Together, I know that we can make these last few months of 2020 the best part of this year. And with that, my friends, go forth and market with purpose.